Have you ever looked at a painting and thought, how is this even real? Like, how did someone create this centuries ago, but it continues to resonate so strongly with us today? If we could only fully understand what it's trying to tell us. This piece is called Madonna with Canon Joris van der Peel by Jan van Eyck. And this is Joris van der Peel, a wealthy canon of St. Donatian's Church in Bruges, and the man who commissioned this painting. Joris van der Peel was very rich, but very unwell, and thought he was going to die. And so he did what anyone would have done in the 15th century with limited time and a lot of cash. He reached out to the top artist of his time to get a portrait made, hoping it would keep his soul alive in heaven forever. But what happened since then would have brought him to his knees, if he wasn't already there. Thanks to Jan van Eyck's obsession with detail, doctors today can diagnose his medical condition just by looking at this painting. Let's take a closer look, shall we? We're placed in the interior of a church. Our eyes are immediately drawn to a woman holding a baby holding a parrot? A parakeet. What? It's actually a parakeet. Oh, right. This is the Virgin Mary and the baby Jesus sitting on a throne. On the left, you see St. Donatian. The painting was destined to hang in St. Donatian's church, which was dedicated to him. He's got a mitre on his head. Can we just take a second to appreciate how detailed this painting is? All right, back to what I was saying. He's got a mitre on his head, a jeweled cross in his left hand, and a wheel with 5 lit candles in his right hand. He wears a long blue cloak embroidered with images of St. Paul and St. Peter. Does this guy look a little like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, or I don't know. I see a resemblance. I love all of the intricate detail Jan van Eyck injects into this painting, but I especially love these fun little carvings to the right and left of the throne that represent stories from the Old Testament. We can see Adam and Eve carved into the left and right arms of the throne respectively. Above the carving of Eve, we see Samson opening the lion's jaw. Above the carving of Adam, there's Cain beating Abel to death with a club.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that last one is slightly less fun. Since this is set inside of a church, Mary and Jesus are placed right where the altarpiece would go. Mary's red robe spills onto the ornate carpet on the steps leading up to the throne. The two hold a mini bouquet of red, white, and blue flowers. And there's a bird below it, believed to be a rose-ringed parakeet. We don't know exactly why Jan van Eyck included the bird, but it could be a nod to the Annunciation, since the bird's chirp sounds a lot like the word Ave. The artist probably used a real bird as a model, considering how detailed the bird is. Given how rare parakeets were in 15th century Europe, it shows just how well connected Jan van Eyck was to get one as a model. Mary gazes calmly and fondly down at the canon, who's kneeling on the ground. He's wearing a white surplice and holding an open prayer book in his hands. You can tell how much he values the book because he's placed a cloth between his hands and the book to keep it protected. He looks up from the book, marking his place with a pair of spectacles, suggesting he was praying just moments ago. He might have been praying to the Virgin Mary, as the inscription on the top of the frame translates to, "For she is more beautiful than the sun, and excels every constellation of the stars. Compared with the light, she is found to be superior, for she is a reflection of eternal light, a spotless mirror of the working of God, and an image of his goodness." These words come from the Book of Wisdom, found in some versions of the Christian Bible. It could be that Joris van der Peel is praising Mary in hopes she'll help him secure a spot in heaven. Just above van der Peel is St. George, his namesake. saint, since Joris is the Dutch form of George. The younger man raises his helmet and lifts his right hand to introduce Joris to Mary and Jesus. We can see the word Adonai inscribed on his breastplate, which means Lord in Hebrew. For some reason, I really like Jan van Eyck's depiction of St. George, as he comes across a bit awkward and unsure of himself, and he seems to have accidentally stepped on the canon's surplice. St. George's fancy armor really showcases Jan van Eyck's talent for capturing various textures in paint, the chainmail, the leather, and the metal's reflections. Speaking of reflections, does this look like anything to you? This is a self-portrait of the artist standing at his easel, reflected in the armor of St. George. Jan van Eyck has basically painted himself painting this painting into the painting, something he also did in his famous piece, the Arnolfini portrait. Jan van Eyck didn't exactly flatter his patron in the looks department. He's got this far-off look in his eye, bulging veins in his forehead, swollen hands, and stubble on his chin. His right eye even trails off slightly from his left. Joris van der Peel was in his mid-60s when Jan van Eyck painted this piece, so it might not be a surprise that the artist depicts him in this way. But this isn't the whole story, not even the half of it. Joris van der Peel had a lengthy and successful career in the church, eventually becoming canon at the Church of St. Donation in Bruges. By the early 1430s, he was quite wealthy, but his health started to decline quickly. Around that time, he got the perk of still receiving income from the church, even though he couldn't do his job. Over the years, some have questioned whether van der Peel was actually as sick as he said, since he lived around another decade after the painting was completed. Sounds like he was faking it, right? Wrong. And here's how we know. This painting is insanely detailed, to the point that physicians have dissected Jan van Eyck's portrayal of the canon to diagnose his exact ailments: polymyalgia rheumatica and giant cell arteritis. Hair loss, bulging veins in the forehead, and scarring near the ear are all signs of giant cell arteritis. Meanwhile, swollen hands are often linked to stiffness and shoulder pain from polymyalgia rheumatica. So it turns out Joris van der Peel wasn't bluffing about being sick after all. But these conditions weren't what ultimately killed him. Records from 1431 show that Joris was initially excused from mourning duties, which later extended to all-day absences by 1434. Rheumatologist Jan de Kwekker explains that this progression aligns with the natural course of polymyalgia rheumatica, starting with morning stiffness and worsening over months or even years. By 1434, Joris likely felt so unwell that he thought the end was near. And this painting probably served as a sort of medical certificate to justify his church absence. This might explain why the canon allowed Van Eyck to include spectacles in the painting. At the time, glasses were a luxury only the rich could afford, but strangely enough, they were also perceived as a sign of weakness. For instance, the Duke of Milan, Ludovico Sforza, needed glasses as he got older, but he was so ashamed to admit it that when he requested 36 pairs from his ambassador in 1462, he attached a note saying, "We inform you that we do not want them for our use because, thank God, we don't need them." Another theory is that Joris's refusal to wear the glasses in the painting signifies a denial of his physical senses, suggesting he's transcended into a different state, a meditative one perhaps. This makes sense considering this painting doesn't depict a real-life scene, but maybe more like a vision Joris van der Peel experiences during prayer. At the bottom of the frame is an inscription that reads, "Master Joris van der Peel, Canon of the Church, commissioned the painter Johannes van Eyck to produce this work, and he founded 2 chaplaincies as part of the choir, 1434. He completed it, however, in 1436. This tells us that Jan van Eyck finished this painting in 1436. It also reveals Joris van der Peel's motive for requesting the painting. He endowed 2 chaplaincies to St. Donation's church. These chaplaincies were established to ensure masses would be held for his salvation and prayers for his soul and his family soul after his death. We can even spot Joris Vanderpeel's maternal and paternal coat of arms in each of the frame's four corners. What's interesting about the text on the frame is that even though it appears to be an actual inscription, it's just painted to look that way. It's an illusion. Similarly, the frame may seem like it's brass, but it's just painted on. It's all just an illusion. This painting looks and feels so real, but it isn't. This isn't a window. This isn't a parrot. It's a parakeet. This is not Joris Vanderpeel. Why? Because he's dead. And also because this is a painting that in a way keeps him, or I guess I should say the idea of him, alive forever.